Hi everyone. In this video, we will install Active Directory domain services in our Windows Server 2022. So in my previous video, I have shown you that how we can install Windows Server 2022, and in this video, we will install Active Directory domain services. So you know that Active Directory is a database where we have the information about the users, computers, printers, so these in general we call them objects. So we save information about them in our Active Directory, and today we are going to install Active Directory domain services in this Windows 2022 server. And now to perform that, or to convert our server, so this is a Windows 2022 server which we have already installed. So now to convert that server to a domain controller, so we have two steps. The first step is to install a role, and the second step is to promote the server to a domain controller. So domain controller is some computer which will be controlling all the objects in a particular domain. So in simple sense, we can say domain is a collection of computers, and that computers can have users, and now we need someone to control it, and that is the domain controller. So now we are going to make this Windows 2022 as a domain controller. And for this, first we have to add roles, and then second step would be to promote server to a domain controller. And for that, this is the stage, and this is the step where I left during the installation of Windows 2022 server. So I'll put the link of that video where I have installed this Windows 2022 server in my virtual machine. I have created virtual machine for this in VMware. And now to install or to make this machine a domain controller, we have this first step where we have to add a role. So for that, we click on this add roles and features. So when we click on add roles, and you can see this is the very first window which appears, and in this window, as you can see, it says that we have here the destination server, and this is the name of the server which we are using at the moment, and it says that this wizard helps you install roles, role services or features, and you determine which role services are featured to install based on the computing needs of your organizations. So yes, we can use this wizard to actually install roles. And what kind of roles we can have, let's for that we just click on next here. So it says that do you want to have the select the installation type. You can install roles and features on a running physical computer or virtual machine or an offline virtual hard disk. So it's a role based or feature based installation. We select this one. We don't select remote desktop services installation. We are not doing this at the moment. So we are going to configure a single server by adding roles. So for that, after selecting this, we again click next. And when we click next, we have the second window here. It says that select a server or virtual hard disk on which to install roles and features. So here again, we select the first option, select a server from the server pool. We are not selecting a virtual hard disk. So we have selected server, and then this is the IP address which has already been selected because during installation I chose NAT network address translation option of virtual adapter, and this has been IP address has been given by the DHCP there, virtual DHCP, and the name. So we are happy with the by default setting we have. We just click next, and here you can see these are the roles. Select one or more roles to install on the selected server. So our server is 2022. In that 2022 server, we want to install certain roles, and you can see there's a list of roles which we want to install. So it says the Active Directory certificate services is used to create certification authorities and related role services. So you can further read about that. But at the moment, I can see that we have to install this Active Directory domain services, this one, and you can see for there is some description about that role, and this defines that Active Directory domain services stores information about objects on the network and makes the information available to users. So these objects can be users. So maybe in some other video we'll discuss about the theoretical part. But yes, we need to select this Active Directory domain services which we want to install now. And then when I click there, it says that add features that are required for Active Directory domain services. And we say yes, as these features are required. So we just click on add features, and now those features will be added. And then also we need domain server or DNS server. So DNS server is to resolve names to IP address. When we click this, when we click DNS server, so DNS server means that it translates the human readable names to IP address, and maybe say fully qualified domain names to IP addresses. And we need this. So when a computer wants to join a controller, the domain controller, then they need to have IP address, and this IP address will be provided by the DNS. And then we say add features. So yes, these are some of the features which are required for DNS server. We say yes, add features, and then it says that this is validation results. So here the validation process found problems on the server to which you want to install features. Click continue to install the selected features. Anyway, we say yes, install features. So we click continue here, and now we have to select next here. Once we have selected this role, Active Directory Domain Services, and we have selected DNS server, we are going to click next. And then again here it says that these are some features which will be installed. So we are happy with those features. We just keep as it is, and then we click next. And now you can see, if you read this message, says that Active Directory Domain Services stores information about users. So again, theoretical part, we just click here, next here. And then you can also go through this, something you can read it, but now it's a at the moment it says the DNS server. We click next, and now it says that to install the following role services or features on selected server, click install. So just we click here on install, and now you can see the it shows starting installation. So now you can see the installation progress. So Active Directory Domain Service and DNS server, group policy management. So these are something which are in the process of installation. And meanwhile, you can see say that you can close this wizard without interrupting running tasks. View task progress or open this page again by clicking notification. So we can just say close here, and this process will be running in the background. And once this is complete, we can just click there in the notification here, where at the moment this is deactivated. It means deactive, it's not showing here anything. So we just close, and once this is complete, then maybe the color will change and we can come here. And it says that this window, maybe don't show this message again, or maybe simply we can close it. This is for server manager. So now we are waiting here, and meanwhile what we can do, I want to verify the password of the user accounts which is on this server machine. So I'm going here, and you just click there, and then you click here on computer management, and in the computer management I have the local users and groups. So these are local users for this server machine, and the users I want to verify, I want to set some password. So yes, proceed. I want to set the password. So let's say I'm going to set some password so that I remember it, and this password will be used once this system will restart. We need some password, so for that I am just creating the new password, so that I remember it. So this was simple thing. I mean, this is just not related with that, but I have done that thing, and just to avoid any confusion, so that I remember the password. Yes, I now know the password here. And now this notification shows that this is still in the process of installation. So it says the feature installation, this is going on here, and it may take some time. So in this case I would just stop this video now, and once this installation is complete, I'll come back. Okay, we are back, and now we can see here that if we click, and you can see this color has been changed. So in this notification here, if you click there, it shows you the status, and it shows that the installation is complete, and we have completed the first step. And the second step is to promote this server to a domain controller. We just click there, and when we click on this, it shows a new window here. So this was the previous window, and this is the next window here. And you can see when we click this promote this server to a domain controller, we have this window, and here we have different options. This says select the deployment operations. First option is add a domain controller to an existing domain. So in this case, it says that if you have already have any domain, then you can create this domain controller within that domain. So at the moment, we don't have any other domains. This is my first domain here. So we don't select this one, and then says that add a new domain to an existing forest. So no, we don't have any forest at the moment. Actually, we are creating this first time. So first domain, it means this is a new domain, and we are creating this domain in a new forest. And in this forest, it said now we need to specify the domain information for this operation. It means we need to select a root domain name. We need to select a name here. So we can select any name here. And for this, let's say video, I'm going to select gd.local as a root domain name for my domain controller, for this domain controller. So I selected this gd.local, and then we click next. And when we click next, it is processing it, and when a new window appears, I'll try to explain it. And here it says that after that, it says select functional level of the new forest and root domain. So forest functional level and domain functional level. So functional level are actually it says that if, for example, if there are some older domain controller in our forest, or then we need to select that older functional level, so that this Windows Server 2022 and the older server which we already have, they should be compatible with each other. Compatible means they should match, so that they should communicate, or they should be able to communicate. Because at the moment, if I'm installing 2022 and if we have existing there domain controller, then if we are not selecting that appropriate functional level, then they will not be able to communicate with each other. Because you see, in forest, well, maybe we'll discuss about theory, like in forest we can have multiple domain controllers, and we want those domain controllers to communicate with them. And there may be some older domain controller, and we want them to communicate with the newer one. So in that case, we can select whatever domain controller we already have. But at the moment, in this one, we don't have anything. We don't have any other domain. So in this case, just I'm selecting whatever is there. So by default, whatever option is there, I'm selecting that one. And now it says that specify domain controller capabilities. So now, if you are creating domain controller, this one, so what capabilities it should have? So first one is domain name system server. We want a DNS server. So we need to have a DNS server, because with the DNS servers, users can find out the domain controller, and the domain controllers can communicate with other domain controllers. So for that, we need DNS, and DNS is actually translating the names into IP address, fully qualified domain names into IP addresses, let's say. And then we have here, if you want to click this one, but at the moment we can't use it, but this is read only domain controller. So it means this will again be a domain controller, but whose contents can only be read. But at the moment we are not creating that one, and this is also not active there. And this is the global catalog. So global catalog holds the information about partial attributes of other domains in the forest. If you have other domains, then we will have this information, but we have to select, because at least we need to have one. So that is selected, and this option is to give the password for directory services, restore mode password. And this is used that if in case of any problem, then we can still retrieve we can restore the Active Directory services. So for that, we have to mention some password here, and this password can be any password, and this password can also be same password like you have the administrative password, but this password can be a different password as well. So let's say I'm keeping the same password. I'm giving the same password which I have configured for administrator, and then we click next. And then says that a delegation for the DNS server cannot be created because the authoritative parent zone cannot be found. And parent down means if we already have some domain, and then if we are joining that, then we will have. But at the moment, actually, we are creating a new domain controller. This is the only domain controller. Then we don't have that and we don't need to take care of these things, and we just click here next. And then here it says that verify the NetBIOS name assigned to the domain and change if it's necessary. The NetBIOS name is also the job, is just convert the names into IP addresses there. And so now it's processing for the NetBIOS domain name here, and this name will be GD here. GD is the name, and NetBIOS domain name, and then we click next. And because I'm working virtual machine, it may be slower anyway. So now it says specify the location of Active Directory domain services database, log files, and sysvol. So actually Active Directory itself is a database. It means for the database we need to have some folders where it can save all the relevant database. So database folder is this, log file folder is this, and sysvol folder location is this. And in this space actually here we have the information about GPO, that stands for group policy update, and then we can have information about replication, which we'll be discussing in some other video. But at the moment, whatever options are given, we are selecting as it is, and then click next. And now this is the review your selection. So whatever we have selected, this is all shown here. You can see there your new domain name is gd.local, NetBIOS name of the domain is GD, and forest functional level is 216. So you can see whatever we selected, it's giving us this. And if you want to see what script which we can be used, so these settings can be exported to a Windows PowerShell script to automate additional installation. So this can also be done, we can automate them. For that we have this view script. You can see this is a script we can use for automation, but at the moment we are not using this. And then we just click next. And then it's when we click next, it said prerequisite needs to be validated before active domain domain service is installed. So it is going to validate. It's going to check the prerequisites for this. So it may also take some time. And once this is finished, we will just click here on install. And after this, installation process will start. And here you can see there are some results here. View results, Windows Server domain controllers have a default, but you say that these are some error messages, but we don't need to worry about that, because at the start it shows that all prerequisite check passed successfully, and click install to begin installation. So this message is good, and as per this message we can simply click on install there. And now this installation process is in the progress. You can see here this is starting, and it may again take some time. And for this, maybe I'll pause this video for some time, and when this is complete, I'll show you what happened here. And now this is restarting here. This needs to be restarted. So after installation, our machine will be restarted, or Windows 2020 server will be restarted. So this is you can see on the screen it's restarting. And finally we can see that Windows 2022 server has been restarted. And then we can just click on VM, and we can send Control Alt Delete there. And now at this stage it will ask us for the password, and you can see this is now we are on the domain. So now GD is the domain, and this is asking for the password for administrator. And if you remember that we changed the password, so I remember that password, and we can give that password now to log in into our domain controller. So we gave password, and now you can see this server is starting. And after this installation, we can see that it will show us that these directory these roles have been installed on a Windows Server 2022. So maybe we just get rid of this. Try management server with this. So we just say we don't need it at the moment. Just I wanted to show you, just maybe maximize it a little bit so that we can see what we have here. So when I maximize it, you can see here it shows that this Active Directory domain services, they are installed, and then DNS services are also installed. And if you want to verify, then you can see here, if you click on this local server, so when you click there, it gives you information about the local server, that this is the name of that computer, and this is the domain name, that is gd.local. and then IP address is assigned by DHCP, because when during installation of Windows 2022 server I enabled net option, and this is getting automatically the IP address, but we can also assign the IP address manually as well. But at the moment you can see this domain is ready for us. And now in the next video, and then you can also see here Active Directory domain services, and then DNS information is further events information. But at the moment you can see that it's local server. If you simply click there, it gives you all the details about that. Okay, in addition to verifying from here, we can also see that with during installation we can see that these all tools which are actually part of Active Directory domain services. So when we click there, then we can see that these all tools have also been installed, which we'll be exploring in maybe future videos. But in general, you can see this is something: Active Directory Administrative Center, Active Directory Domain and Trust. And let's say for simplicity, you can see that Active Directory users and computers. So this is where we can create accounts for different users who will be using computers in our domain. So I think that's it for this video, and hope to see you in some other video. And thank you. So what we did actually in this video is just we installed the Active Directory domain services, and then we promoted this computer or this server as a domain controller. And in our next video, we will use some other virtual machine, and we will use that virtual machine to join this domain. So that domain is gd.local, and now we want that some other virtual machine should be joining this domain, so that if any user would like to log in from any computer, then they can, and their credentials can be verified from this domain controller. So this we'll be doing in our next video. So thank you for your time. Hope to see you in our next video.